All right, episode one, Phantom Menace. Um, you know the movie, you know the books, you know the comics, but do you know about a little series called Star Wars Junior? Star Wars Junior was a series of 12 books published by Scholastic between around 99 and 2000, mostly illustrated with some text, and parts of these were sort of activity oriented, various stickers and things you could put on. A few of them have things like mazes and things that you can try and get through whatever. But most of them are just direct adaptations of scenes from Phantom Menace. 12 altogether, and I'll sort of quickly walk through all 12 just to sort of give you a sense of what they look like and what the titles are, and just say a little bit more about what they were attempting to do and whether or not they're worth picking up. So here we go, really simple adaptation. Obi-Wan's Bongo Adventure, part of the scene of all of them sort of going, the underwater passage to Theed. Here we go, C-3PO's Big Adventure. Everyone's favorite Tatooine slave master besides Jabba Watto here on Droids Everywhere. If we're talking episode one adaptations, you knew there was going to be one on pod racing. And again, what's so funny is uh, pod racing, that whole section feels like it goes on forever in the film. No surprise, this is probably the thickest of the entire series. Sith Attack. This is, of course, about the time that Maul reveals himself on Tatooine. This is a fun one. This is Meet the Jedi High Council, and it's basically an adaptation of the scene when Anakin first meets everyone on the High Council. But what's cool about this is there's some things you learn about some of those characters that cinematically you wouldn't have known. For instance, like, who is that person that looks like Yoda? What's their name? And for instance, how old are they? You find stuff like that out in this book. So it makes it a valuable thing to have in its own right, in addition to just being an additional cool thing you can add to the EU collection. It's a really helpful further glimpse into the Star Wars EU saga. Droid to the Rescue, adaptation of the Escape from Naboo. I was really happy that with a lot of the episode one, particularly like children's related sort of EU products, that we got more about the Gungans. I was always sort of disappointed that we never got I don't know, like a Del Rey book on something related to the Gungan planet or culture, or even characters like Jar Jar. So here we go, General Jar Jar, Gungan Trouble. This has always been a beautiful cover. I like this one a lot. Save Naboo, of course. This is just an adaptation of some of the scenes with Padme and her council at Theed. Jedi Escape, direct adaptation of the first few minutes of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon on the Neimoidian ship. And although most of these are adaptations, sometimes they will introduce different beats and things that are new. And actually, some of the volumes, like this one, Catch That Pit Droid, are new stories altogether. Now, of course, they're set in the context and the characters and settings of episode one, but this isn't something that comes right out of the movie. Plot here is pretty straightforward. Basically, one of Watto's pit droids escapes, and he sends Anakin to go find him. So, are you going to learn more about episode one? Are you going to learn something really valuable about the rest of the Legends EU saga? No, but if you're a completionist and if what you're concerned about is just finding any scrap of information that tells you just a little bit more about this world and the saga, well, then it's a must-have. And individually they don't really add up to much, but it's pretty exciting. That's a nice substantive set of books. Goes pretty nice on the bookshelf. I have them right up there along with some of the other sort of lead-in Phantom Menace stuff. It's kind of hard to know exactly how to put this. I don't try and break them up, because to the extent that some of these are original stories, do they happen, when exactly do they happen? So do you put it before? Do you put it after some of these other books? But basically, I've got things like Cloak of Deception and some of the Darth Maul lead-ins like Shadowhunter and Lockdown, and then boom, I've got these 12 guys right there, and then that leads right on into the Phantom Menace novelization. So, and someday I'll give you a sort of a full tour of everything you see behind me and elsewhere, sort of a sense of how it is that timeline-wise I've organized some of my EU collection and continuity, but. These are fun to pick up. They're not incredibly hard to find. They're at least not incredibly expensive. I mean, good luck finding someone selling all 12 at once, but you're definitely going to be able to, if you're a little patient, you're going to be able to find all 12 individually, and they're not going to cost you more than a couple of bucks. And that probably includes shipping. I mean, they're just not that valuable, but they're a lot of fun. They're definitely a lot of fun. I think probably the best way to find them is, of course, any of the sort of the online venues you normally use, eBay, Amazon. I mean, they are officially titled Star Wars Junior. I mean, they're not branded Episode 1 or anything like that, but even though they're directly about Episode 1. So Star Wars Junior is what they're called. You can try your luck at searching for that, although you might end up with lots of other sort of Star Wars kids-related things that might not be relevant. Probably the best way to find these is to search for the individual volume titles, things like Catch That Pit Droid. And the best way of figuring out what that is, in lieu of just looking back at this video and trying to write them all down, is probably go to something like Wikipedia, search for Star Wars Junior there, figure out what the 12 volume titles are, and then sort of begin the search. So anyway, Star Wars Junior, subtitled My First Star Wars Adventures, a really cool little addition to the tons of products that came out in the wake of Episode 1, which all of which I'll have individual videos on down the road. All right, that's it for tonight. See you next time.